Hey guys, it's Nina here, one of the coaches here at Team Biolayne, and today I want to talk to you about 7 things that may be sabotaging your fat loss. So the one thing I hear all the time is, Nina, I've tried absolutely everything to lose weight or fat. We're going to refer to it as fat loss today. And I just can't seem to be making any progress. But that's because most people are trying to look for that one quick fix, that magic overnight thing that's going to make them drop a whole bunch of weight. But in reality, fat loss is hard. It's not easy. It's simple. It's a simple process, but it's difficult. It takes a lot of commitment, a lot of dedication, time, and a whole lot of patience, which is something that not many people have. So for those of you who have tried absolutely everything, I'm talking every diet, every fad, every gimmick out there, and you just can't get that fat off, or maybe you did get the fat off and you're just fluctuating up and down and you can't keep it off, I can guarantee you there's one big point that you are missing. So with that being said, that brings me to my very first point, and probably the most important point. You must be in a caloric deficit to lose fat. You heard me, it doesn't matter what approach you take. You can be doing the paleo diet, you can be doing the Mediterranean diet, you can be doing the carnivore diet. Whatever you choose, if you are not in a deficit, you're not going to lose fat. Number 2, you think you're in a caloric deficit, but you're not. That is a huge thing I see all the time, where people think they've calculated their calories, they're tracking, and they think they're in a deficit, but really they're not, because of so many other factors. You might be underreporting, you might just not be aware of the foods you're eating, what the foods contain, or you're not tracking at all. There's so many variables there, but you really need to be honest with yourself about whether you're in a true caloric deficit or not. Those first 2 points are really simple, and losing fat is actually a really simple progress. But many of us just mess up that one bit, the caloric deficit. But the problem is our body isn't a calculator. We can figure out all the numbers, all the maths, everything to a T, but there are so many other variables that affect whether we are going to lose fat or not. So that moves me into our third point. You are not tracking your food. Now, you don't necessarily have to track your food to lose fat. It's not a necessity for some people, but for many people, we do need to track our food. You need to know what your intake is in order to make changes to keep your body in a caloric deficit. For most people, if you don't know what you're eating, then how are you going to know where you're at? You might think you're in a deficit, like I spoke about before, but really you might be overeating by, let's say, 300 calories a day. That puts you at maintenance or a surplus. So if you haven't tracked your food before, or you just didn't feel like tracking your food, it's a good idea to start. A good approach to take is to track your food for at least 2 weeks. That'll give you a good indication of whether you're in a caloric deficit already, whether you're at maintenance or a surplus, depending on whether you maintain, lose, or gain weight at the end of that 2-week period. And that gives you a starting point to then adjust what you're eating towards your goals. On a side note, if you are an experienced tracker, make sure you get back onto tracking your food, because again, if you are estimating all the time, you can really be out by a large number, which can affect your overall results. Point number 4, you need to be honest with yourself about your food intake. So many people I've worked with, and even myself, I'm guilty of this, underreport on tracking. You kind of go, yeah, I had a bite here, a bite there, I had that drink, I didn't really need to track it. It's kind of that mentality of, if I didn't track it, I didn't eat it. Well, no, your body consumes those calories and takes in those calories whether you track them or not. That is happening. So you need to be honest with yourself and make sure you're weighing your food as much as possible to really get that understanding. And if you're not weighing your food, at least overestimate to account for the additional calories you might be consuming. Point number 5, you take the weekends off. They're a free-for-all. You are tracking super diligently Monday to Friday, and then on the weekends you go out, you eat out a lot, you just kind of, go with the flow and input whatever you're eating, or you have cheat meals and cheat days that are unaccounted for. That can completely blow out your caloric intake. So let's say we're eating 1,500 calories a day Monday to Friday in a deficit, and then over the weekend you consume 3,000 calories on Saturday, another 3,000 on Sunday. That's going to put you way over your deficit calories for your weekly average. So really make sure on the weekends, or whether you're having so-called cheat meals or, high calorie days, you still track those and they're accounted for in your weekly calorie intake to make sure you're in a deficit overall. Point number 6, Your diet is simply unsustainable. So many of you go super hardcore into a diet because you want those results really, really fast. So you might reduce your calories really low to a point where they're unsustainable every day, causing you to really restrict your calories for a few days or a week, and then going into binge cycles where you overeat, get super hungry, and just go, I can't take this, I just need to eat. And again, that's gonna put you over your deficit calories, but then to counteract those binges, you're restricting again, and you're adding a whole lot of activity, and then you just go into this vicious cycle of restrict, binge, more of a yo-yo style diet. We don't want that. We don't want that rapid fat loss and then rapid regain, because you're gonna really struggle with losing fat in the long run. So make sure you guys take your fat loss phases nice and structured and slowly, and that's where that patience comes in. Point number 7, you're just simply not active enough. So it's fair enough for us to calculate our calories into a deficit, but if you're not accounting for your activity factor, you might not be in a true deficit. Let's say you train 5 days a week, but you sit on your butt all day at work on your computer. You might actually be less active than you think. That 1 hour a day of training might not equate for enough energy expenditure to put you in a deficit. So really be realistic when you're calculating your caloric deficits and be honest about your activity factor. You may just need to be a little bit more conscious of implementing extra steps in a day, walk from your car to work, park further away, take the stairs, get more active in your day overall, and that might help you increase your activity to put you in a larger deficit. So guys, there you have it. There are 7 things that may be sabotaging your fat loss. So if you have any other questions regarding this topic or anything else in regards to nutrition, you're more than welcome to email me at nina@biolayne.com. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, and we would really appreciate it if you subscribe. So hit that subscribe button. We are releasing content weekly. Thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time.